arm pathway, but it goes through all of our planes of movement. It doesn't just draw itself on the front wall. It doesn't just draw itself on the floor, the ceiling or the floor, or on our side wall. Those are our three planes that we think about. This one kind of goes all over the place. And it's great to work all by itself because it's very pretty, or with a prop, holding something, a small prop in your hand, or something larger like a sword, which you have to make allowances for because your hand will get too close to your body to keep that sword in. So you have to get your body out of the way. Let's first talk about what it is. I'm going to do this with one hand, pick a hand, and I'm going to hold it out here like I'm holding a platter, which is another thing you could do this with, is a little tray or platter of, I don't know what, candles or coffee cups or crudités, I don't know. So you're going to rotate your fingertips forwards. I'm pointing those at you. And then I'm going to pull the elbow out, which causes, by the way, my shoulder to come forward just a little bit, but I want to make sure I'm keeping it down rather than letting it come up to my ear. So now I'm holding that object, tray, platter, whatever, right here. Or if you've ever carried something like that, if you've ever had to, like a, I don't know, sack of potatoes. So if you ever carry something underneath this way, I'm sure we've all been there, that's this position right here. Then we're going to rotate back. Now my shoulder's really forward and my fingertips are pointing back. And now I'm going to keep going around. At this point, I have to choose between changing something in my body or dislocating myself. And I don't want to do that. I am not one of the, I can't remember what they call it, but those dancers that can dislocate their shoulder. That's not what I do. So I've got this thing held up here. I'm going to start moving from the shoulder to bring the arm forward. And you can see I'm leaning away from this a little bit. And I'm going to bring that arm over my head. Now notice how my palm is still facing up this whole time. That's what we're going for. And over the head. So it just kind of skims your head. And then as I pull the shoulder back, palm back, and I'm back to where I started. And you can start this at any point within the figure eight. You can start it overhead, you can start it down here, but it's a continuum. So I'm going to do it again on this side. I'm going to change my angle for you just a little bit. I'm going to take it in, elbow goes out, shoulder is rolling a little forward. That's happening by itself, by the way. I just want you to be aware of it. And then back. Now your shoulder's really forward. Try to keep your posture up. Then I'm going to lean away from it, let the arm come up, up, up. Now I'm moving from the shoulder. I'm going to bring it around. My shoulder sits back down into its little pocket, and I'm back to where I started. I'm going to do that on the other side. So I have my left, for me it's left. If you're mirroring me, you might be on your right. Doesn't really matter. We're here. We're going to go. Bring it around forward. Now you're holding on to something close to your body. Bring it around back. Or just before you feel like you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to come up, moving from the shoulder, over, palm is still up. Bring it around the back and here. Now obviously this is a movement that takes up a fair amount of space. Let's do another one on this side. Then we're going to try it, or at least I'm going to try it with an object. So I'm going to come under here, rotate it back, move the shoulder. Remember, it's okay to lean away. Get up, over, and down. Okay. So that lean away is not required. If you have the shoulder flexibility that allows you to do that entire maneuver without having to move your torso at all, good on you. That's awesome, but not everybody has that. I clearly don't have that, so I have to, at this point of it, I have to sort of lean out of it just a little. I first learned this movement doing a dance with candles. We had little votive candles, much like this one, and it was a choreography I learned of somebody else's, and that's how I learned how to do this, because we were balancing those candles. So if you have something small nearby that has a little bit of weight to it, something too lightweight's just going to fall off your hand a lot more easily. So if you have something, great. If you don't worry about it. Just keep practicing the maneuver. And you want to balance this where it feels nice, but also where you can rescue it if you have to. If it starts to tip, you've got those fingers to grab it. But it's, of course, more impressive if you can just keep it on the palm of your hand. I kind of have it right where my fingers start. That's where I feel most stable, is at the top of the palm of my hand, right into the top knuckles of my fingers. So I'm going to do this on this side. I'm going to bring it down, around, still holding it up, over, and back to my neutral. I'm going to try that on the left, which is arguably my weaker side, so I might have to grab this one. We're going to go down, around, up, over, and return. Okay. Now, with or without something in your hands, you can also, of course, do this with both. You just have to mind what's going on up here so that you don't crash your hands into each other on top. All right. I'm going to set this guy down, and I'm going to go to this guy. So this is what my class has been doing, or had been doing. We were doing a sword choreography in the previous class session, and this balance trick, trying not to hit the cat, this balance trick was there. Now, obviously, when I come to this position, if I'm swinging through here, this sword is not going to retract to a place where that's going to be possible. So in order for this to work, I have to get my hips out of the way. I like to do this with a big hip circle. I'm not sure if we've done a technique on that or not, but it's okay if we haven't. But here's what I'm going to do. Now, instead of concentrating on my fingertips, I'm going to concentrate on my sword tip. So right now that's facing forward. And I'm going to step, open, and get those hips out of the way. I'm also not coming nearly as close into my body with this hand until the tip of the sword has cleared it. Now I've turned it. And then I can come up, over, and that lean goes right nicely into that big hip circle, and then I can come back to neutral with my sword in front or out to the side or wherever I want it. So I'm going to do that again on the same side. If you don't have a sword handy, that's okay. This is going to stay up for a while, so you can go back to it and take a look at it later. We're going to do it again. I'm going to step out into a big hip circle. Sword goes towards me. Oops, I just stabbed myself. Bring it away and up, overhead, and back down. And similarly with the candle, you also can, use your fingers a little bit to help yourself with the sword. I'm going to do it on the other side, but I'm going to have it facing the other way. Why? Because I'm a right-handed sword person. So generally, I would have set it into my left hand. So this is actually better on my left side. It's where I'm used to doing it with a sword. Now I have to take my hips going the other way. I'm going to bring it forward. Tip goes forward, hip goes out. And now I've cleared. And I'm going to lean into it to finish that hip circle and bring it back to neutral. I'll do one more here. Start that big circle. Boom. Bring it out. Back. Up and over, and back to our center. All right, put this guy away. Okay, so that's it. That is, and you can see where the figure 8 is. It kind of twists through space. Like here's the bottom of it, and here's the top of it. So the circles themselves draw on the circle on the ceiling and floor planes. However, you pass through the center of it going up and down. So it's like a figure 8, but the circles are here and here. And you sort of spiral down and spiral back up. So that's, I think of it as a figure 8 that goes through all 3 dimensions.